Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi. Zevachim Daf Pei Gimel. We begin at the third line off the top of the Amud. Nichnas l'chaper. This connects back to yesterday's halacha, where we learned that if a person brings dam, he brings blood of a carbon which is meant to stay outside in the azara, brings it into the heichal for the sake of kapara, planning to apply it to the mizbeach hazahav in the heichal, bringing it in that fashion, it invalidates the blood, the carbon that was pasul, even though he did not actually carry out his intentions. That's Rabbi Eliezer's shita. Nichnas l'chaper, right? Mishnah says, Afal pishal l'keeper, even though he didn't actually do anything, he didn't apply it to the mizbeach. Pasul. That's Rabbi Eliezer's shita. Rabbi Shimon says no, unless he actually carries out his plan. Rabbi Shimon says, Achi chaper, only when he actually carries it out, he implements it, he does it on the mizbeach, then the dam is pasul. Says the Gemara, we have a brisa with both opinions and with their respective sources. So according to Rabbi Eliezer, intention is enough. According to Rabbi Shimon, actualization is required. Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer Omer. How do I know? That even just bringing it in for the sake of kapara invalidates the dam. We have a gzera shava. Nemar kan l'chaper b'kodesh. We have the term l'chaper b'kodesh stated over here in the pasuk, which warns against bringing dam into the heichal, right? V'chol chatas asher yuva midama el oyel moed l'chaper b'kodesh, right? If it was done l'chaper, what does l'chaper mean? Oh, wait, we have another connection. V'nemar lahalan, we have another pasuk. V'chol adam lo yeh oyel moed. This pasuk warns anybody from entering the heichal. When the Kohen Gadol, this is on Yom Kippur, when the Kohen Gadol comes in to do the Ketores, to bring the Ketores into the heichal and do the Haktorah there, and to do also the blood in the heichal, everybody keep out. Right? And the pasuk reads like this: nobody should be present in the oyel moed in the heichal. When the Kohen Gadol is entering and preparing l'chaper b'kodesh. Now he hadn't yet done anything. He's still anticipating. It's pre-kapara. Apparently, the term l'chaper b'kodesh can relate to prior, even before actually doing it. Okay, so again, Nemar kan l'chaper b'kodesh. We have the words l'chaper b'kodesh stated over here regarding avoiding bringing the dam into the heichal. V'nemar lahalon, we have the pasuk over there in Yom Kippur. Nobody should be present in the heichal. V'voye, when the Kohen Gadol comes in, l'chaper b'kodesh, with the intention of doing kapara. We make a connection. Ma lahalon, just like over there in Yom Kippur, he's still before the act of kapara. B'shaloi keeper. Afkan here as well. B'shaloi keeper. Merely importing the dam into the heichal, even before actually doing anything with it, already invalidates it. Hence, Rabbi Eliezer learns that just merely entering with the intention of the l'chaper b'kodesh makes it possible. Rabbi Shimon Omer, no, we have a different connection, a different source, which will teach now the dam of the chatas entering the heichal is only possible once actually applied to the mizbeach hazahav. Rabbi Shimon Omer, nemar kan l'chaper. Again, we have the term l'chaper b'kodesh over here by the imported blood. But nemar lehalon we have elsewhere. This is regarding hakrava on Yom Kippur. Veis parachatos, veis orachatos, asher huva es damam l'chaper b'kodesh, right? So those bloods, which are meant to be for the heichal, those are the internal carbon chatas. When he's done, he takes the actual behemoth, takes it outside, way outside Yerushalayim on Har HaZeisim, and burns it. So just like over there, in that context, the term lechaper means malahalam b'shechiper. We're speaking after the fact. After doing the dam on the mizbeach hapnimi, then he takes the animal and burns it outside Yerushalayim. Afkan here as well regarding the imported blood of the chatas. B'shechiper, the term lechaper means after it was done. Okay, so again the question is, when the pasuk warns against importing dam of chatas, which is meant to stay outside, an external carbon, against bringing it into the heichal, lechaper b'kodesh, according to Blazer, it means to say, merely having in mind kapara, intending on doing kapara with that blood, invalidates it. How do we know? Because he connects to the pasuk on Yom Kippur, warning anybody from coming in while the Kohen Gadol is entering lechaper. Over here it means before the fact. Likewise, regarding the dam of chatas imported, the psul occurs even before kapara. Reb Shimon, however, connects it to a different pasuk, also Yom Kippur, describing the process that pertains to the internal karbonos chatas, whose blood had already been applied to the heichal's mizbeach, and then you take it out and burn it. L'chaper means after the fact. Apparently here as well, the psul of dam chatas imported into the heichal is only after it had been applied to the internal mizbeach. What's the machlekes based on? What's the basis of this disagreement in terms of whether we connect our halacha to people being forbidden from entering the heichal, or that we connect it to the description where the Torah describes the process of the carbon chatas apnimi. After kapara, it's meant to be burnt. What's the question of, what's this question dependent on? What's the machlekes about? Mar Savar, look, Reb Lezer says, I think my connection is preferred. It's better than yours. Mar Savar don and chutz michutz. We'd rather learn the halacha that pertains to the chatas hachitzon, which doesn't belong in the heichal, from the pasuk, which likewise relates to people staying out. Right? So they're both externals. You stay out, you stay out. That's a more solid connection. And just like over there, it's before kapara, likewise over here. Vein donen, rather than connecting chut, something which is meant to stay outside, mivifnim, from a carbon chatas, which is meant for inside. Okay, so my connection is preferred. Umar savar. However, Reb Shimon disagrees. He says, donen behema behema. I prefer learning a halacha that pertains to the dam of a behema, a chatas chitzoni, which is meant to stay outside, from a similar halacha that pertains to a behema, i.e., the process that relates to the internal carbon chatas, as explained. Vein donen behema miyadam, rather than connecting halacha that pertains to blood of an animal to halacha that pertains to people staying outside of the eichel. So my connection is preferred. And we know from there that the issue is only after kapar. Okay, so again, dam of echatos chitzona taken into the heichel for the sake of kapara. Reb Lezer says that's enough to make it possible. Reb Shimon says only if he actually did something with it. He put it on the internal mizbeach. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda adds a point. He says if it was done inadvertently, not realizing that it's an external carbon chatas, his blood, then it does not invalidate it. Rabbi Yehuda b'shoigeg, it's kosher. Okay, but is it possible? Clearly, if it was done intentionally, it becomes possible. At what point? Meaning, what would be Rabbi Yehuda's position regarding the prior discussion? Does he side with Rabbi Eliezer? Merely bringing this for the sake of kapara is enough to make it possible? Or like Rabbi Shimon? You need actual kapara to make it possible. How is it possible? So certainly, if it was intentional, it's possible. Now the question is, at what point? B'shachiper, only after he did something with it? Or b'shalei even without having done kapara? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, let me prove that in fact, he holds like Rabbi Shimon only after kapara. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah. We have a brayso. which actually mentions Rabbi Yehuda's position regarding something else. Once the pasuk says, "V'espar achatas, v'esir achatas," this was actually the pasuk we mentioned a minute ago, describing the procedure applicable to the par and soir of Yom Kippur. These are considered chatois hapnimiyos, internal chatois, whose blood is applied in the heichel, and ultimately their flesh is burnt outside Yerushalayim, right? Veis barachatos, veis sirachatos, asheru v'os damam, l'chaper b'kodesh, whose blood was taken inside to the heichel. What happens now? You transport the animal itself out of Yerushalayim, and we're meant to know that anybody involved in this process of burning, it makes his begadim impure. The clothing that he's wearing at the time become tummy. Now, the question is, Matam ulaymer v'asoyref. The pasuk continues, v'asoyref oisam yichabeis begadav. One who burns them has to purify his clothing. What's the point of saying v'asoyref? They meant to burn them. Matam ulaymer asks the Gemara, what do you mean, what's the point? To teach us what to do. You go and burn it, right? Matam ulaymer v'asoyref. What do you mean? What do you need a soyref? Well, the Gufa Yitzchak needed for itself to describe the process. What do you mean? Why mention it? Ella, rather, the question was like this: why the repetition? Why mention the word chatas once and again? It sounds like redundancy. Matam ulaymer chatas chatas. Pasuk says v'espara chatas, v'esara chatas. Why mention the word chatas twice? The answer is, in order to teach us something regarding another carbon, which is similar to this one, and to teach us that just like in this carbon, in this case, the burner is metameis begadim, likewise in the other carbon, similar carbonos, internal carbonos chatas, where there's no mentioning of tumas begadim, we compare and we apply it as well. So again, Ela matam ulaymer chatas chatas. Why mention the word chatas twice? The answer is, Lefish lo lamadnu el parisor shel Yom Kippurim shenisraf and abeis hadesh metamen begadim. At this point, we have only learned regarding these two carbonos, namely par and sor of Yom Kippur, who are meant to be burnt abeis hadesh, outside Yerushalayim, place called Beis Hadesh, where you burn these carbonos, place of the ashes. And once you do that, mitamen begadim, it affects the person's clothing. What about other similar carbonos? Do they share the same fate? Shar nisrafim minayin. How do we know to apply the same concept to other burnt carbonos? Talmud ulaymer chatas chatos. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, reader says, the extra chatas tells you to apply the halacha of tumas begadim to other carbonos as well, which share a similar procedure. Rabbi Yehuda, he says, we don't need a special pasuk for that. How do we know? I'll tell you. Hareyu oimer, ve'ispar achatos, ve'esir achatos. The pasuk that we just described speaks about par and sor achatos, and continues, Asher huva es damam lechaper b'kodesh, whose blood was taken in to be mechaper b'kodesh, which really is an extra, unnecessary, descriptive term. She'ein talmud ulaymer lechaper. Why mention that you bring in the blood to be mechaper? It's already mentioned elsewhere. We already know that these carbonos' blood is meant to be taken into the heichel, etc. So why the extra mentioning? Uma talmud ulaymer lechaper. What's the point of the extra word lechaper? To tell you. Limit, it teaches al kol hamiskaper sha'asarfan mitame begadim, that all similar carbonos whose blood enters the heichel for kapara, they too, they're burnt, and the one who burns them is metameis begadim. Okay, so basically Reb Meir and Yehuda both end up at the same sort of destination. Sreifa equals tumas begadim, whether it's in these carbonos or other carbonos which share a similar procedure. So it's a question of where to learn it from. Reb Meir focuses on the chaper. Reb Yehuda apparently can't learn from there, and therefore he needed to learn from chatas. And the question is why? Reb Yehuda, why did he choose chatas versus just learning from lechaper like Reb Meir? The answer is lechaper lemashmele, because he cannot apply lechaper for this purpose. Why? Let's guess. Apparently it's been used up. My timer, why? La mishum, let's assume it's because mibayele l'gzera shava. He already used l'chaper to trigger that gzera shava of Rab Shimon a few minutes ago, who connects to l'chaper in this pasuk, connects it to the halacha of the chatos' blood was taken into the heichal illegally, right? The external chatos was imported, right? He connects the l'chaper to teach that the external blood that comes in is only possible once l'chaper happens, once the kapara was actually accomplished and applied to the mizbeach. So since he uses l'chaper for that purpose, he must look for another source. They teach us tumas begadim by streifa, and that's from chatos. So that clarifies, in fact, Rabbi's position regarding the earlier question. Imported blood, at what point does it become possible? Only after kapara. So in a nutshell, the dam of an external chatos doesn't belong to the heichal. If it was taken in for kapara, Rabbi Lezer says it's possible at that point, before actualization. However, Reb Shimon and Rabbi as well hold that only after kapara was accomplished. Okay, begin a new parak, the 9th parak of Zevachim HaMizbeach Mekadosh. We actually touched a little bit upon this topic in the past, that the Mizbeach sort of has its own power, magnetic pull, so to speak. And once material from a carbon, which is meant for Mizbeach, ends up on the Mizbeach, even though it turns out to be puzzle material, it doesn't belong there. But once up there, it stays up there. It gets sort of absorbed into the experience, into the environment. The Gemara calls it nasa lachmai shel Mizbeach. It becomes the bread, the food of Mizbeach. It stays there. You don't take it off. But of course, we have to conform to certain parameters, certain guidelines. It's not, all expansive, applying to all situations, all psulim, right? All materials. Okay, so we have actually 5 opinions in the coming daf regarding the exact parameters, the limitations of this halacha. Says the Mishnah, as sort of an introductory statement, HaMizbeach Mekadesh as a roiloi. You should know that Mizbeach is Mekadesh, it sanctifies, it absorbs something which is meant for the Mizbeach, fit for the Mizbeach. For instance, says Rashi, as opposed to, let's say you have a mincha, and you did kmitah, you scooped out that scoop which is meant for the Mizbeach, but you hadn't yet placed it into a separate klisharis to give it extra sanctification, to allow it for the Mizbeach, to sort of send it. You haven't done it yet. At that point, it's not yet called ro'iloi. It's not yet labeled as Mizbeach material. Rashi says it was not huvrar l'chelik, it wasn't meant yet for Mizbeach. It's not mevurar l'Mizbeach. It wasn't separated, labeled as Mizbeach material. So in that case, if it were to become possible, even if it's sitting on the Mizbeach, you take it off. Okay? So that's the idea. Mizbeach Mekadosh Roiloi. How far do we say this? How wide do we spread this net? It's limited to material meant for fire, fit to be burnt on the Mizbeach, like chelev, but not blood, not wines that are poured on the Mizbeach, although it's meant for Mizbeach, but it's not for the fire. Shenamar, as we learn in the pasuk, he tells us, leave it as is, leave it up there. Ha'olah al moikta, on its fire, on the fire of the Mizbeach. We compare all others to this oila. Ma'olah shirui, just like oila is meant for fire, it's meant to be burnt on the Mizbeach. And therefore, I'm also later, we learned that if it's up there, don't take it off, even though it's possible. Avkol, likewise, all other materials, provided shuroi leishim, which is meant to be burnt on the Mizbeach, likewise, in Malalayer, once it's up there, it doesn't come off. According to Rishua, fit for fire. Rabbi Gamliel expands it further. Anything fit for Mizbeach in general, even dam, even nesachim, are covered by this halacha. Rabbi Gamliel, Mizbeach. Anything fit for the Mizbeach. Once up, doesn't go down. Shenamar hiya oila al moita al Mizbeach. We focus on the word Mizbeach. Ma oila shirul Mizbeach, just like the oila, which is fit for Mizbeach, mostly once up, doesn't come down. Afka, likewise, other materials, kadava shiroi the mizbeach, meant for the mizbeach, also later, once up, doesn't come down. What's the difference between fire and mizbeach? 2 items, dam and nesachim, bloods and wines. Ein bein divrei Rabban Gamliel, u'divrei Rabbi Yeshua. The only difference between these 2 opinions is elad hadam v'nesachim. These 2 items happen to be on the mizbeach, but not fit for burning. So that's why we have a machlokes. Shram Gamliel oimer lo yerdu. He says, keep it up there. It's royal mizbeach. It's been incorporated into the mizbeach's environment. Rabbi Yeshua oimer lo yerdu. You take it off because it's not fit for fire. Here comes yet a 3rd opinion. Rabbi Shimon, he holds that this whole concept of imala lo yered is limited to an offering which has its own identity, which is separate, independent, as opposed to, for instance, nisachim, which comes with a carbon. The mincha, the flour, the oil, the wine, comes with a carbon as one package. In that case, it's not covered by this halacha of imala lo yered, and if it becomes possible for whatever reason, whether because of its own psul, whether because it gets dragged along with the carbon, so whatever reason, it's not covered by the halacha of imala lo yered, which only applies to items which are standalone, independent gifts, independent offerings. Okay? Rav Shimon Omer, hazarach kosher, v'nesachim psulim. You have nesachim with a carbon, and even if the carbon is still okay, but the nesachim became possible. Case number 2, hanasachim ksherim, v'azevach pasul. Or the reason why you can't bring the nesachim now because the zevach became pasul, and that sort of has a domino effect on the nesachim which are packaged together. Or afilu zevach zepsulim, even if both are pasul, the carbon and the nesachim. In all these cases, hazevach la yered, hanasachim yerdu. The carbon stays up there because he's a standalone item. He comes by his own right. The nesachim, they're sort of tagging along. Once they become unfit for akrava, they come off. Okay, so far 3 shittas. Rabbi Shua says fit for burning. Rabban Gamliel fit for the mizbeach. Rabbi Shimon says it has to be a separate, independent offering. Mishnah began with this introduction. HaMizbeach mekadesh es ha'ro'ui loy. Something fit for the mizbeach, something destined for the mizbeach, something already labeled as mizbeach material, as opposed to what? What are we going to exclude? We explained it means the nesachim, the kmitza, which has not yet been put into a kli and sanctified for that purpose. Ro'ui loy in, only something fit for the mizbeach. However, she'ein ro'ui loy, something which is not yet designated as mizbeach material, loy, is not covered by this halacha. What are we excluding? A kaimitz which had been separated in anticipation of offering on the mizbeach, but has yet to be put into a kli sharis to achieve a higher level of kedusha, hasn't been done yet. At this early stage, it's not going to be covered by the halacha of imala lo yered. Maskef la Ravina, I have a big question on you. Why would this be different than Ula's case? Damar Ulu tells us, a murakachim kalim. So we have Kadesh Kadashim, Rashi explains, which are karbonos which occupy a higher level, a higher tier of kedusha. Once you do the shchita, right, the whole carbon is kadosh. In fact, there's me'ilah from day one. It's if it's diverted for personal use, he has committed me'ilah. Versus kachim kalim, which are karbonos of a lower level of kedusha. So let's say a shlamim. The halacha of me'ilah doesn't come into the picture, it doesn't kick in until zrika. So even after shchita, there's no me'ilah. If a person diverts it, there's no me'ilah. Even on those components of the animal which are slated for mizbeach consumption, like a murin, like the fats, only after zrika, application of the blood on the mizbeach, which is the hakrava of the carbon. At that point, the murin have been elevated to a higher level. They've been now designated for mizbeach consumption. They're called kachei Hashem, and me'ilah would be applied at this point. So what if he takes a murin, and before he does the zrika, it's still early in the game, he puts it on the mizbeach? Stays up there or not? you can say, no, it comes off. It's not yet meant for Mizbeach. On the other hand, eventually, after Zrika, it's going to be taken to the Mizbeach, and you can do Zrika any second. I mean, nothing else went wrong with the carbon, right? Says Ula, guess what? You leave it up there. A mure kachim kalin, shehelon fnei Zrikas damim. If you happen to bring the mure on the Mizbeach, even before Zrika, lo yerdu, don't take it off. Why? Nasu lachme shel Mizbeach. It has become the food of the Mizbeach. Okay, so clearly, even before they have been properly labeled and designated and made fit for Mizbeach consumption, it already relates to the Mizbeach and you leave it up there. Why is this different than the Kmitza, which had been separated from the Mincha, slated for Mizbeach consumption? And just because you haven't yet put in a Klisha race, right? You take it off if it became possible? What's the difference? Big difference, huge difference, says the Gemara. How could you compare? In contrast to the Emurin, Avekachim Kalam, taken up to the Mizbeach before Zrika, you realize there's nothing inherently deficient in this material. There's no masa that's missing in them. There's nothing left to be done in them. In terms of the missing Zrika, it's something external that has to be completed. So, since these items are perfectly fine and fit for Mizbeach, even though it's still early in the process, it's still pretty mature, but since there's nothing lacking with this material per se, and somehow it ended on the Mizbeach, leave it there. Hani, as opposed to these, the kaimas that we're talking about, which is missing a step in its own development. It's inherently missing something within itself. It's missing the kiddush of klishares. It's still too premature for Mizbeach consumption, and even if it's up there, it became puzzle, right? It became puzzle, you take it down. Okay. So we explained the opening statement of the Mishnah, HaMizbeach Makadesh es Roilai, as opposed to a kaimetz prior to Kiddush. Okay, but in general, with which materials are covered? Rabbi Shoai Mekal Roilai Ishim, only something fit for burning on the Mizbeach. As opposed to Rabbi Gamliel, who says, no, anything fit for Mizbeach works. Rabbi Shoai comes from a pasuk, Oila al Moikda, right? The oila on the fire, only something which is meant for fire. So what does Rabbi Gamliel do with that pasuk? Which seems to indicate that fire is a precondition. For Rabbi Gamliel, Nam Yoksiv, what does he do with the pasuk? Oila al Moikda? The answer is, it's applied for a different halacha altogether. Hahu, that's coming la'adure paikin udasa, to tell you. To return paikin, Rashi explains, parts of the oil that happen to spring off the Mizbeach. Sometimes, when there's a fire raging, some things just pop away, explode and just pop away. And end up on the floor. You meant to put it back on the Mizbeach, even though you found it on the floor. Okay, so that's the point of the pasuk. Oil al moikta. Something which had been on the fire and popped off, you put it back. So it's a totally different halacha. No, v'idach laduri paikim nalei. Has Rabbi Shua know this halacha of laduri paikim? Because he had used that pasuk of moikta for our discussion. Oh, he has another source for that. The pasuk says something which had been affected by the fire, partially burnt. So you learn from there that you put it back. All right, the pasuk says, we learn from there, something which had been on the Mizbeach and been burnt by the fire, even though you found it on the floor, you put it back. Okay, so that's an extra pasuk according to Rabbi Gamliel. What do you do with that pasuk? It's needed for a different halacha. Actually, to teach us some more details regarding the halacha of restoring these items. It's needed to teach us liikuli oila tamachser. You only return parts of the oila that popped off. V'yata machser ikuli means something which had been partially consumed. V'yata machser, you don't return ikulik teiris. Suppose a similar phenomenon occurred with teiris material, the incense on the Mizbeach, and it popped up. There's no halacha of returning it. The Tani Rabbi Chanina, Bar Minyum, Rebbe Lazar, Ben Yaakov, Asher Techel Eshes Oila Mizbeach. Torah speaks about returning parts of the oila, as opposed to Ketores. Ikuli oila tamachser, you return parts of the oila. V'yata machser, but you don't return ikuli Ketores. V'idach. Comes Rabbi Shua and he says, look, but you can learn all from this pasuk. I understand it's coming to teach us don't return the Ketores, but yeah, return the oila. Okay. V'idach. So the other shita says, lav melo shamas mino. Dikuli oila madrina. So basically, you can learn two things from this pasuk. The pasuk is saying don't return Ketores. Obviously, it's saying do return something else. Do return the oila. Okay, so it's all learned from this pasuk, which frees the other pasuk of oila al moikta to give us the parameters of the halacha and the Mishnah. When do we say im ola lo yered? It's limited only to items fit for burning on the mizbeach. But Rabbi Gamliel disagrees. He says, anything fit for the mizbeach, like dam, nesachim, is also covered under this stipulation. Why? Because the pasuk says, ala mizbeach, right? Mizbeach is the criteria. No, Rabbi Shua nami yaksib mizbeach. Rabbi Shua, the opposing shita, what does he do with mizbeach? He learns that the pasuk is simply giving us the reason, the rationale behind this whole halacha of once up doesn't come down. Why? My kam rachmana kalaroy l'maikda mekalish mizbeach. Why do we say that something fit for fire, which ends up in the mizbeach, turns out to be apostle, stays up there because the mizbeach is mekadosh? That's the reason. However, Rabbi learns that idea from the other pasuk. There's another pasuk elsewhere which says, anything that comes into contact with mizbeach becomes holy. There you go. That's the reason for the halach. V'idach. And Rabbi Shua says, no, we need both. There's nothing extra. Because the pasuk by us, which says, once up, you stay up, perhaps it's only speaking about a case, that although it became possible, but it became possible recently. It wasn't possible from birth, There was a point in time when I had a shasa kosher, a moment of permissibility. So maybe only there do we say, once up, stay up. That's why we need another pasuk later on, to cover even a more severe deficiency. To a case, and that's why we need two psukim. However, Rabbi Gamliel disagrees. We don't need two psukim for the same halacha of Mola Yered. In which case, we have an extra pasuk to give you the reason, as we explained. Why? Why don't you need two psukim? He says, look, puzzle is puzzle is puzzle. It's all the same story. Given the psul and since these are puzzle, for whatever reason, from the get-go or later, doesn't matter. Rabbi Rachmana, Torah allows you to put it on the, leave it on the mizbeach. Torah covers it, so it's irrelevant. Loishna, hoysel shasa kosher. Loishna, loisel shasa. It doesn't matter if it happened later or earlier. There's no need to have a special pasuk for that. Rather, the extra pasuk is telling you the reason, the basis, the rationale is kol anagam mizbeach higdash. Mizbeach has special kedusha powers. You're on there, you stay there. Okay. So in a nutshell, what's covered? In the halacha of Mola lo yered, Rabbi Shua says, Roy le'ishim, fit for burning, fit for the fire, based on the pasuk Oila al Maikda. Maikda means the fire. Rabbi Gamliel focuses on the word Mizbeach, anything fit for the Mizbeach, including Dam and Nesach. Third shita, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Zevach kosher, only something which is a standalone item, standalone korban, by its own right, is covered by the halacha of Mola lo yered. Tanya, Rabbi Shimon Omer. How do I know? Because I focus on the word oila. Oila is an independent entity, a separate offering. Oila teaches ma oila haba b'glal atzma, like the oila comes by its own right. I've called haba b'glal atzma, likewise, other materials which come on their own. Yatsu, as opposed to nesachim, right? The minchas nesachim, etc., the wines, haba b'glal zevach, that come along as a package with the korban, they will not be covered by this halach. Now comes another brayso with two more shittas. to rule out bird karbanis, to rule out menachos. Rabbi Yisrael Yomer, Metoich Shenamar. If we take a look at the other pasuk which says Kol HaNegeh BaMizbeach Hikdash, anything which comes out of the Mizbeach becomes Kaddish and stays there. Anything. Perhaps anything. Sheme'ani can perhaps conclude Bein Roy Ubein She'ein Roy, whether it's fit for Mizbeach or otherwise. Once on the Mizbeach, you stay there, leave it there. Talmud Loima, no. The next pasuk continues and says V'zeh Shatas al Mizbeach Kvasim B'nei Shana Shnai Melayim Tamid. So we learn from that pasuk, Talmud Loima Kvasim, Ma Kvasim Ru'in, just like Kvasim, which is used as an example for this halacha, is an animal meant for Mizbeach, fit for carbon. Afkol Roy, likewise, only something which is fit for Mizbeach is covered. As opposed to birds, even a bird carbon, if it's puzzle, even if it's on the Mizbeach, you take it off. Rabbi Kiva, he says, birds are covered, but menachos are not. So he chooses to focus on the word oila. Okay, so the word oila, which is a few psukim later, it says oilas tamid. Oilas tamid. That's his starting point. Ma oila ru'uya, just like an oila is roy, afkol ru'uya, likewise, only material which is fit for Mizbeach is covered. Maybe now. They both seem to be saying the same thing. You need to be fit for the Mizbeach. Any difference? Yeah. You have an oila bird, it became puzzle, and it's on the Mizbeach. And that will be the difference between these opinions. It's a bird, not an animal. So it's an oila, but not kvasim. According to Rakiva, yes. According to Rabbi Yisrael, no. Mar ma'isla me'oila. Rabbi Akiva, who comes from oila, covers this as well. However, Rabbi Yisrael comes from kvasim, specifying animals only, not birds. Ask the Gemara, the one who comes from kvasim as a source. What about oila, which sounds like even birds? No, iksiv kvasim. The reason why the Torah adds the word oila, because if only from the word kvasim, without saying oila, I would say afilu mechayim. Even a live animal on the Mizbeach stays up there. Because Rahman oila comes the word oila and says no, only a processed carbon. On the other hand, the opinion that focuses on oila to include even birds, hoksiv kvasim. What about kvasim, which sounds like only animals? The answer is no, iksiv oila v'liksiv kvasim. The reason why the Torah mentions kvasim, because if only oila without kvasim, I would erroneously say afilu mincha dekar, even a mincha that became faulty, you would leave it on the Mizbeach as well, because Rahman kvasim comes, the pasuk says kvasim only animals, as opposed to menachos. But birds work as well. Okay, so we have a Mishnah by us, Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Shimon, who seem to be including even menachos. It's fit for the Mizbeach, it's fit for the fire. If it's a separate mincha, then it's covered under Rabbi Shimon's criteria as well, versus the Tanaim and the Raisa. Rabbi Yisrael, Rabbi Kiva, they both seem to concur that a mincha is excluded from the halacha of a mother layered. Ma'ika. Oh, says the more, what's the difference between these and those opinions? Ma'ika ben hani tanoim, between these Tanaim and the Raisa, versus lahani tanoim the masnisim, versus the opinion in our Mishnah. Opinions in our Mishnah. Papa, kamatzim shekitcha b'kli kubenayu. You brought a mincha, separate carbon. You did the kmitza properly, you put into a kli, it's waiting for the Mizbeach, all set. And it became possible, but ended up in the Mizbeach anyways. Do you leave it up there? Depends. According to our Mishnah, all the opinions in our Mishnah, Rabbi Yeshua says fit for fire, it's fit for fire. Rabbi Gamliel says meant for the Mizbeach, it's meant for the Mizbeach. Rabbi Shimon says independent, it's independent. Well, Yerdu doesn't come off. However, Tanoi de Masnisa, Yerdu, according to the Bryce's opinion, it comes off because a mincha is not covered. Amar Shlakish, let me give you another couple of examples. And we'll see what happens according to the various opinions. So again, before we continue, we have 5 opinions to speak of. What's covered under the halacha of once up, stays up? Imal Yerdu. Rabbi Yeshua, fit for burning, fit for the fire. Rabbi Gamliel, fit for the Mizbeach. Even Dam and Nesach, Rabbi Shimon says only something which is separate, independent, as opposed to part of a package. We have in the Brisa, Rabbi Yitzchak Lili, we exclude birds and menachas. Rabbi Akiva only excludes menachas. Amar Shlokish, mincha above fnei atzma. So you have a mincha, Rashi says a mincha is nesachim, which typically comes with a carbon, a mix of flour and oil. You have wines as well, meant to be completely burnt and offered, poured, and burnt on the mizbeach. The mincha is burnt, the wine is poured, right? Mincha above fnei atzma. Decided to bring it as a separate gift. You can do that, we'll see later. You can bring a mincha nesachim separate from your carbon. What happens if there is a mishap, but it's on the mizbeach? Stays up or not? L'divrei kulan lo'iteret. According to all opinions, it stays up there. Meaning, according to the opinions in our Mishnah, fits the bill. Fire, yes. Mizbeach, yes. Independent, yes. But according to the Brisa, l'divrei Rabbi Yitzchak Lili, Rabbi Akiva, it comes off because the mincha is not covered. Okay, so this flour and oil mix comes off. Next case, mincha above mazevach. You have the minchas nesachim, the flour and oil mix, right? Which happen to be part of a package, part of a carbon package. What happens here? And of course, in all these cases, there was a mishap, it became possible, but it ended up on the mizbeach regardless. Does it stay up there or come off? It depends who. Rabbi Gamliel, who says fit for mizbeach, yeah. Rabbi Yeshua, who says fit for fire, yeah. Loitered, stays up. According to the other opinions, the other three, it comes off. Why? Because according to Rabbi Shimon, it doesn't fit the bill. It's part of a broader package. According to the Brisa's opinions, mincha is not covered. Next case, what about the wines? Typically come with a carbon, but you can donate wine on its own. According to everybody, it comes off. Meaning, according to the Brisa, Rabbi Yitzchak Lili, Rabbi Akiva, it's not an animal, it's not a bird, right? It comes off, right? And the sachim come off. According to Divrei Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Shimon, according to Rabbi Gamliel, it's fit for the mizbeach. According to Rabbi Shimon, it's a separate gift, not part of a broader package. Lo yerdu, it stays up there. Okay, so again, according to Rabbi Yeshua, it's not fit for fire. According to the Brisa, it needs to be a blood offering, like an animal, a bird, but not a mincha, not nesachim. Next case, nesachim habanu hazevach. What about the wines that are coming together with a carbon? Literally kulan yerdu. According to all opinions, minus one, it comes off. Why? Rabbi Yeshua says fire, it's not fire. According to Rabbi Shimon, it's part of a broader package. According to the Brisa, it's not an animal or bird. However, the only one that keeps it on the mizbeach is Rabbi Gamliel, who says anything fit for the mizbeach in general is covered, even wine. Okay, Pshita, says the Gemara, this string of variations is pretty much just a play out of all the opinions. It's not. There's no novelty here. Once you have the opinions clear in your mind, then these are just simple applications. What's the point of going through them? Right? Rabbi Shua requires eish. Rabbi Gamliel mizbeach. Rabbi Shimon says beglal atzmi. The Brisa rules out mincha. Okay, so what's the point of going through all cases? There's one chiddush here, which is the first case, which taught us that you can bring a minchas and sachem independent of a carbon. You can just decide one morning to donate a minchas and sachem. That's a chiddush. And that triggered our whole list of cases. Mincha, haba b'fnei asr strichli. The point was to highlight that one has the ability to bring a minchas and sachem separate from a carbon. Strichli, the Rav, as Rav tells us, I'm a Rav, it's not about the minchas and sachem chalyam. You can decide every day to bring a minchas and sachem. Finish meaning the Rav. That was your only point. Just get up and state that halacha. Why all these cases and all these variations? The answer is no, there was another point in the next case as well. We had a case of nesachim coming together with a carbon. And we consider it to be part of the package, in which case it doesn't fit the bill according to Rabbi Shimon in the Mishnah. And there was an added twist there that was highlighted in this discussion. Why? We're speaking that actually he brought it a day or two later. Right? The bringing of the korban triggered this obligation, but he decided to procrastinate, bring it a day or two later, which he can do. Now, it's an interesting question. Do we view it as a separate offering? In which case, it would qualify. It would be considered a separate entity, would qualify even in accordance with Rabbi Shimon's requirement that needs to be separate. Or do we say no? Fact is, what triggered this obligation? The korban. So it's still part of that general package, even though procedurally you brought it later. That's the point of discussing it. We wanted to highlight another element, another halacha regarding nesachim that are packaged with a korban, because he brought it later. The makrav l'macher, he happened to bring it next day, l'yamacher the next day, the following. Perhaps I would think to consider it a separate offering. Since we learned that you can do that. Menuchasim Neskem teaches us even Balai, you could bring it the night after the korban. Menuchasim Neskem, even Lamacha the next day. Perhaps we treat it as a separate, standalone offering. In which case, Reb Shimon would allow it through. He would agree to you don't take it off the Mizbeach. Kamashwan, the point is no. Ultimately, it's part of that broader package. It's part of the korban. It's not considered Fnei Atzman. Does not really fit the bill, according to Reb Shimon, who requires it to be a totally separate entity. Okay, let's summarize today's daf. We had basically two discussions. One is importation of external blood into the heichal for the sake of kapara, that makes it puzzle, according to Reb Shimon, and Reb Yehuda only if you actually applied it to the Mizbeach. We learned that a Mizbeach is mekadesh, something which is fit for the Mizbeach, as opposed to kaimitz, which is not yet ready for the Mizbeach. Which items are covered? We have 5 opinions. Rabbi Shua focuses on the word Moigda, fit for burning on the Mizbeach. Rabbi Gamliel focuses on the word Mizbeach, anything fit for the Mizbeach in general, even Dam and Nesachim. Rabbi Shimon says, provided it's a separate offering and not part of a broader package. Basically, he says, we exclude birds, Rekiva, we exclude Menachis. Okay, all the best to you, and Atzlacha.